To form saints, that's our mission. That's why the Chesterton Academy of Orlando exists. Thank you all for coming tonight. We're deeply delighted to see all of you. When we first started planning this first gala, we thought we'd be thrilled to get 100 people in a room, 150 people in a room. We have 450 people in this room, so thank you. My name is Brandon Vogt. I'm the founder and the chairman of Chesterton Academy. I've heard many of you say over the previous months and even tonight, talking to some of you, what a source of hope this school has become in our community. But hope rarely arises in good times. When things are going well, you don't need hope. Hope often arises in troubling times, particularly in times of crisis. And I want to talk to you briefly about two different crises that our young people are facing today. Today, we're facing an education crisis and an evangelization crisis. First, education. Our education system is collapsing in many ways. We all know this, we see it. The Brookings Institute just released a report titled "The Alarming State of the American Student in 2022. It found that students are suffering dramatic increases in anxiety and depression. Math and reading scores have plummeted at historic rates. The Washington Post summed up this report even more succinctly, saying, "Test scores are down and violence is up. Parents are screaming at school boards and children are crying on the couches of social workers. Anger is rising, patience is falling. For public schools, the numbers are all going in the wrong direction." We've lost the path. Students are suffering, parents are upset and frustrated. Many schools have abandoned the tried and true methods that have worked for centuries. So that's the education crisis. But second, we also have an evangelization crisis. Evangelization simply means drawing people to Christ and His church, helping them encounter the Lord in a personal way. We Catholics generally struggle with evangelization, but we especially struggle with evangelizing our young people. We all sense this. I think we all know it. We all have children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews who have drifted away from the church. A recent study from the Pew Research Center found that 50% of young people who were raised Catholic no longer identify as Catholic today. 50%. Imagine a business losing 50% of its customers, or a company losing 50% of its workers. That would be a crisis. What's interesting is that the vast majority, about 80% of those Catholics who leave the church, leave before age 23. So these are predominantly young people who are drifting away from the church. Many of them leave in middle school, others leave in college. But the data shows that the real pivotal moment, the most important period, is high school. High school is the fork in the road. High school is when they either grow deeper in their faith or they begin to drift away. And right now, as I said, many are drifting away. So that's the evangelization crisis. So we're facing these two big crises, education and evangelization, and high school is ground zero for both of them. It was from these two challenges that Chesterton Academy of Orlando was born. Our new classical high school was conceived by families and parishioners who became convinced that the answer to these two crises, the education crisis, the evangelization crisis, is a classical high school grounded in the Catholic faith. Now, let me say a brief word about each of those two pillars, classical and Catholic. First, we're a classical school, and this is our answer to the education crisis. While many schools drown students in standardized tests, overwhelm them with technology and sports and college prep, all good things in their proper proportions, we return to a traditional focus on generating wonder and cultivating wisdom and virtue. At Chesterton Academy, our goal is not to prepare students to do something after they graduate, but to become someone now. To become someone now who is a fully formed human, who is wise, joyful, virtuous, holy. That's why we teach not only math and science, but the classical liberal arts, which include literature, philosophy, theology, Latin, and debate. Instead of dry modern textbooks, our students read the great books of the Western world, books that are in the middle of all of your tables. These are the enduring works that have shaped the minds and hearts of the brightest men and women up and down the centuries. Our students read Homer, Augustine, Dante, Shakespeare, Thomas Aquinas, and of course, G.K. Chesterton. And we don't use screens in class. We're tech minimalists. There's no iPads, no phones, no laptops. Instead, students have actual discussions face to face. We discuss the great books in the Socratic style, as you saw on the video here, in conversation with others and with their teachers. We also emphasize the fine arts. Every student at Chesterton Academy learns to draw and paint, sing in the choir, act on the stage, give speeches, and engage in debate. The result is that by the time they graduate, our students are poised, articulate, thoughtful, and well-rounded, full of joy and faith. That's the result of a classical education, and that's our first pillar. We're a classical high school. Our second pillar is Catholic. This is our answer to the evangelization crisis. To put it simply, we love our Catholic faith. We love Jesus Christ, and we love his church. We take pride in our Catholic identity. At our school, faith is integral to all subjects, not just one subject. It infuses everything we do, from our decor to our prayer to our feast day celebrations to our school culture. It's all living, breathing, joyful Catholicism. Every teacher, every staff member, every board member is a committed Catholic. Every student at Chesterton Academy takes 4 years of Catholic theology and 4 years of Catholic philosophy. They study the entire Bible, cover to cover. They read the entire Catechism of the Catholic Church. This is how we address the evangelization crisis, by welcoming students into a culture of vibrant, joyful, intelligent faith. While millions of high schoolers are leaving the faith in high school, our students are deepening their faith. They're becoming more committed, more in love with Christ and his church. So that's who we are. That's what we're about. But how has this vision unfolded over this first year of our existence? Well, as soon as we announced this school that we were opening, we did that back in 2021, hundreds of responses quickly poured in. People told us how thrilled they were that something like this was coming into being. We knew that there was massive excitement. We established a board of directors, an impressive group of parents, educators, community leaders. We then became an approved high school with the state of Florida and a registered nonprofit with the IRS. We then worked with an executive search firm to find our inaugural headmaster who would lead the school. And we were delighted to find and hire Mr. Jim Hickle, who's sitting here. Jim, if you could stand up and say hi to everybody. Mr. Hickle brings over 40 years of experience as headmaster in classical Catholic schools. So he's seen it all, he's done it all, he's been successful everywhere he's been. We next hired a team of 6 fantastic teachers. I think, where are the teachers at? These tables over here. Each of these teachers is gifted in their subject and vibrant in their faith. We found that our students look up to these teachers, not just as intellectual mentors, but as mentors in the faith, who live their faith with joy and confidence. Rather than undermining the students' faith, as happens in a lot of other schools, our teachers build up the faith of the students they're teaching. We then needed a location. We had this great idea. We didn't know where we'd be to do it. So we prayed intensely. We asked God to please find us a place where we can open this school. And through a stroke of divine grace, no other way to describe it, we were blessed beyond measure when two generous donors, Nathan and Anna Bond, whom are over here, I believe, somewhere. There they are. And they'll be speaking in just a moment. Nathan and Anna Bond acquired a turnkey school building for us in Winter Park and graciously offered it for our use. The building was the former home of the Geneva School, which was also a classical school, so it was perfectly tailored for our needs as a classical high school. It has 27 classrooms, a full gymnasium, beautiful music room, and art room. Since we didn't need the whole space for our small burgeoning school, we partnered with another amazing classical Christian school to share that space with us, Highlands Latin of Orlando. Highlands Latin offers a pre-K through 8th grade education, classically. So together, we now offer on one campus a full pre-K through 12th grade classical Christian education. With that, we were ready to open our doors, which we did in August of 2022, this past fall. We were excited to welcome 30 inaugural students who were primarily in 9th and 10th grade, and very quickly, we knew we had something special. We saw lives being changed, students were growing and coming alive. We were especially delighted to hear from many of the young students about how, for the first time, they would say, we actually enjoy coming to school. In fact, one of the parents messaged me a couple months into the year saying, my husband and I are extremely grateful and blessed for the opportunity to send our daughter to Chesterton Academy. The car rides home are always full of joyous stories recounting her day, and the weekends can't pass by fast enough. She's actually eager for Monday to roll around. In fact, the parent said, during our recent beach weekend getaway, our daughter asked my husband and I, is it weird that I can't wait to get back to school? How many high schoolers have you heard ask that question? Is it weird that I can't wait to get back to school? That's what we've built at Chesterton Academy of Orlando. It's a school that young people love to attend because we offer what their hearts genuinely long for: beauty, truth, goodness, God. So that's where we are after less than a year. But what's coming next? Well, frankly, a lot. Next year, we plan to grow significantly. We just opened enrollment for the ensuing year, and so many applicants poured in that we've about to cut it off. We need to cap it. We'll begin next year with 60 students. So we have 30 this year. We'll be doubling in size next year to 60 students. But this obviously requires more resources. To continue all this great work and do more at a larger scale, we need to raise $265,000. That's the key number for us. That's the number that we're hoping to raise tonight, $265,000. That amount will allow us to do all the things that I've already described and more, to continue our joyful culture of learning, to shape these students into future leaders and saints, and to provide a real solution to those twin crises of education and evangelization. However, here's the thing. We're hoping to raise even more than that to carry out 3 dream initiatives, 3 accelerators to move us forward even more quickly. First, and most excitingly, we're hoping to construct a big, beautiful chapel right in the heart of our campus. We want to place God first. He's the priority. Our students already pray together at the beginning and end of every day. They chant, they sing hymns, they share devotions such as Stations of the Cross. But they currently do all of this in an unused classroom space, which is plain, bare, and small. It barely holds our 30 students. So we need a bigger, more beautiful space, a sacred space worthy of their prayers. After working with an architect and a liturgical designer, we now have plans to combine a few unused classrooms located right in the middle of our campus, combining them into a larger chapel space. The new chapel will seat about 160 people, and it'll be impressive. It'll have an altar, pews, a sacristy, a confessional. Planning has already begun. We have preliminary designs and renderings, and we're eager to get started with the first phase. If we raise an additional $20,000 tonight, we can begin work this summer with some of the demolition and structural work, which we desperately need because, again, at a minimum, we just need a bigger space to hold our incoming 60 students for next year. So raising that initial $20,000 is key. But as we raise more funds, we can begin work on the full chapel as soon as next summer. Look, our mindset at Chesterton Academy is God first. God first. God's the focus of our school. And if God's first, the chapel must be a priority. A second big goal we have is to build out our new science lab. This first year, all of the students studied astronomy. That's our entry-level science course. But next year, we'll be offering lab courses for biology, physics, and chemistry. But we don't have a science lab right now. Thankfully, we do have space for the lab, but we still need to purchase all of the furniture, tables, lab equipment. If we can raise $11,000 tonight, then we can provide Chesterton Academy with a top-notch science lab for our students, which will be used for years to come. A third and final big goal, we're hoping to raise money to provide our students with life-changing faith experiences beyond the classroom in order to evangelize them. If we raise $12,000, that will provide a full year's worth of retreats, conferences, and speakers for our students. These experiences are crucial because they allow our students to encounter the Lord personally and powerfully. Many Catholics, including many of us in this room, can point to a single experience, a conference, a talk that we heard that changed our life, that transformed or deepened our faith. That's what we want to provide the students at Chesterton Academy. And if we raise $12,000, we can provide a whole year's worth of these experiences. We can adequately evangelize them. Now, one exciting fruit of all of this, the chapel, the retreats, the prayer experiences, the culture of faith that we've built, is vocations. Frankly, we expect a large surge of vocations to pour forth from this school. And in fact, we have lots of data to support this. Our school, the Chesterton Academy of Orlando, is part of a network of over 50 Chesterton Academy high schools across the country. They all share the same model and curriculum, and over 1,000 students have graduated from the other Chesterton Academies. Of those 1,000 alumni, 20 young men have already entered the seminary. It's amazing. 1,000 graduates, 20 seminarians. Most impressively, the original Chesterton Academy in Minnesota, which was co-founded in 2008 by our keynote speaker tonight, Dale Alquist, they send on average 1 out of every 9 senior boys into the seminary. 1 out of every 9 boys that graduate there enter the seminary, including, not from their school, but one of the boys in our video tonight is on his way to the seminary. Why does this happen? What's the secret? Well, it's because Chesterton Academy helps students discern who they are, what God made them for, and to find happiness in their vocation. Imagine if over the next decade, our little high school in Orlando sent 20 young men to the seminary. Imagine how 20 new seminarians would transform our diocese. Or even just half that number, 10 new seminarians. Even that would be a game changer. And of course, that's not counting all the other vocations we expect to emerge from this school, from religious life to consecrated life to holy and happy marriages. But again, to do all this, we need your help. We need your help. We need your help to raise the basic goal of $265,000, but we especially need your help to achieve our bigger, more ambitious goals. $20,000 will allow us to start work on the chapel. $11,000 will build our science lab, and $12,000 will fund these life-changing retreats and experiences to cultivate more vocations. We need more partners on this mission, and to speak to that, I'd like to welcome Jim Dempsey to the stage. So thank you, and please join me in welcoming Jim Dempsey.